Hello everyone, welcome to another video blog by mental health carer Matthew Mckenzie. Now sometimes on my blog I write about coping as a mental health carer. Other times I do videos on reviewing an event that I can come across, or perhaps I might write about a lecture. But I think this time what I want to do is raise some awareness, and of the time of this video, it's actually National Eating Disorder Awareness Week, which usually runs from February 21st to February 27th or 28th, usually at the end of February. The National Eating Disorder Awareness Week is promoted by many charities, many eating disorder organizations. I'll pick out perhaps one or two, one of them being NEDA, which stands for the National Eating Disorders Association. Now, taken from their site, their goal of the National Eating Disorders Association and the National Eating Disorders Awareness Week is to put a spotlight on eating disorders and improve public understanding of their causes, dangers and treatments. And can catch a bit more information about the NEDA off their site, which is ndaawareness.org, and you can have a look around that site and get a bit more information on eating disorders. But before I continue, what are eating disorders? And take note, I'm just a carer, not a mental health professional. Well, I'm going to try and put this in a basic, simplistic way, because that's probably the only way I can put this. Usually eating disorders is when someone has abnormal behavior towards how they eat their food or even drink. Now, they may refuse to eat foods to try and keep a very low weight, or some might eat uncontrollably due to finding food that they feel might help their self-esteem. And to be honest, we all have different attitudes to food. But the thing is, when our habits to food becomes uncontrollable or begins to affect our health, then this can lead to a very dangerous health problems. So who is raising awareness? Now, being that it's National Eating Disorders Awareness Week at the time of this video, many other mental health organizations try and help raise awareness, and you can check some of the sites that I've shown off this video. One of them is Student Minds, which is www.studentminds.org. And we also got Men Get EDS2, that's eating disorders. As with many mental health awareness weeks or days, there is usually a theme, and the theme of National Eating Disorders Awareness Week is 3 minutes can save a life. And the theme concentrates on how important it is to get screened for eating disorders. And it usually only takes around 3 minutes to complete a screening, and how early intervention can save a life. Now, unfortunately in the UK, we have around about 700,000 people suffering from eating disorders, while over in the States, it's estimated that 8 million Americans, although mostly women, suffer from an eating disorder. Suffering from an eating disorder, if you are suffering from an eating disorder, it's usually best to see the doctor. But one of the sites, that being NEDA, does offer confidential online screening via a link which you can see here. So, being a carer, I always want to dedicate a section of my video, or be it a written blog, about carers, because when someone suffers from a mental health problem, they can get a lot of support, hopefully, if a carer is available within the family. They can get some support, and believe me, sometimes those suffering mental health problems will need that support from family, friends and carers. Now, I want to remind you that when I'm talking about carers, I'm not talking about a carer who is paid to care. I'm talking about, again, close relatives, friends, loved ones caring out of their goodwill and love for that person, and just wanting them to just see it through. So going back to eating disorders, the thing is, mental problems can also affect their loved ones. Those suffering mental health problems, unfortunately, it affects the families and the friends. And if you're a carer of someone suffering eating disorders, make sure you get support for yourself as well as the person you care for. Now, I've got some tips which could be of some use if you're caring for someone suffering an eating disorder. The first thing I would say is get clued up on information, and it's quite obvious. The more you look up on sites, through books, through leaflets, speaking to your doctor, or those who are also carers of those suffering eating disorders, the more you're likely be able to cope with the situation and provide adequate care. Other simplistic things to note is, perhaps before an eating disorder takes form, is to keep an eye on how many meals that person is missing, and keep an eye about the language that person is using regarding their habits to food. Hence, a good one would be that they would be complaining that they're too fat, but they would take this to incredible levels, or they'll keep questioning to you that, are they too thin? Or if they keep complaining that if they're overweight, if they keep asking you if they're overweight constantly. Now, to be honest, many young people, perhaps teenagers, especially girls, might complain about their body image. But if this becomes completely constant and continues for a while, and you begin to notice a physical change in the person's health, it could be an early sign of an eating disorder. And I don't want to panic anyone, but please take note that sometimes that's how eating disorders start. Other things to watch out for is if the person continually buys low diet foods, even if they're already quite thin or already have a low weight. And one last one is if that person is having extreme difficulty eating in public or with the family. It's like they just do not want to go anywhere near food and cannot eat sociably. And please take note, again, it might not be an eating disorder, it really might not be. Sometimes people just feel they just don't want to eat at that time, and they could be going through other things. But if this is constant, then it's something you might need to take note of. Now, having to care for someone with eating disorders can be difficult, as emotions can play a large part in sustaining a caring role or relation with the sufferer. But try and reassure that you are there for them